Good evening. I recognize the magical power of this Pritzker Prize. After the announcement of the award, I received incredible number of the message, phone call, and flowers from all over the world. And the matter of fact, the flower didn't fit into my Tokyo office, so that my neighbor thought my office became a flower shop instead of an architect office. And also, this prize gave me big surprise. I met some people I never imagined I would meet, like the Emperor, Empress, and President Obama, same time, in Imperial Palace, Tokyo, in April. And I received generous and undeserved word from them. The Empress expressed her gratitude for my services in the disaster area in Tohoku, Japan, after the earthquake and tsunami. Then President Obama told me, "I'm a great fan of your architecture," and he was younger, he wanted to be architect. So I told the president, it's not too late. I know that in a few years, he's going to have a plenty of time. Then, this word, their word from Empress and President Obama happened to emphasize, summarize the diverse activities of mine written in the citation of the Pritzker jury. I'm very happy to be back to Amsterdam, where my first permanent paper chip structure was built. Actually, the manager told me this was dismantled, somebody owned in the storage. I just knew it, and I'm going to help to rebuild as a permanent structure. This paper structure was built for the summer dancing event for the dancing company of Janetta Van Steen. In 2004, it was moved to the city of Utrecht, and then it's dismantled to be stored in the storage. Also, the Netherlands is a very important place for me for other reasons. In the beginning of my adventure with architecture, in 1975, when I was 17, I happened to see Japanese architecture magazine called A+U, and this magazine had a special issue of John Haydock, and also his the education in the school. And this magazine actually made me come to the United States to study architecture. And the cover of this magazine has his sketch, his design. This is the building called Wall House number 2. And he's very known. Most of his building was never realized. And this is one of the only few projects realized in Holland, named the city Groningen. So this is another relationship with me. Also, as you may know, because of most of his project was not realized, John Haydock, he's so-called paper architect. So I had his influence to be also paper architect. At the Cooper Union, I had great professors like Todd Williams, Rick Scofidio, Diana Agrest, Bernard Chumi, and Peter Eisenman. He gave me the most difficult time of my life. He said my name, Shigeru Ban, is too difficult to pronounce, so he called me Sugar Bear. And he tried to brainwash us, so that I fought with him a lot, and he failed my thesis project. That's why I couldn't graduate from Cooper Union at the same time with my classmate. Also, I had to do my thesis project again. I did got the first job working as assistant for the world-renowned Japanese photographer Yukio Futagawa. He published the famous GA, and the first trip he took me was to Finland. And that was the first time I see Alba art architecture. Because the education of John Haydock, the influence of education is like about the so-called international style, like architecture of Le Corbusier or Mies van der Rohe. So I was not interested in Alba art architecture, and I couldn't understand his architecture from book. But I was so shocked when I went to Finland first time to see art architecture. This is the first time I ever understand his building with its perfect harmony with its context and natural material and the climate. So that I decided to bring his exhibition from MoMA to Tokyo, 1986, where I used paper tube. Actually, they are sitting on my chair made of paper tube. It's very strong. So that this is the first time I used the paper tube as a replacement of wood. Then I started developing this material for the building structure. I'm often considered as environmentally friendly architects. However, when I started developing recyclable material for building, 1986, nobody was talking ecology, recycling, the sustainability. This fashion came afterward. So that I'm not using recycled material as a fashion, but I hate to waste material. When I was interviewed by the journalist of New York Times, Michael Kimmelman, after he listened to my story, he called me accidental environmentalist. After 10 years practicing, I started thinking how lucky architects are. For example, if we compare our profession with other professions like medical doctor, lawyer, we are so lucky because we are always working for the happy people. For example, when people make a house, this is the happiest moment of the life. But the medical doctors, the client of the doctor and the lawyers, they all have problem always. So I thought this is very unfair that we are just working for happy people. Then also I recognize that historically, even now, we are working for privileged people who has money and power. Because power and money is invisible, then I nervous with them looking at me. Let's say, okay, power and money is invisible, so that they hire us to show off their power and money by monumental architecture. I'm not criticizing this because the wonderful monumental architecture become symbol of the city But also I love to make a monumental building too. But I think that we should use our knowledge and experiences not only for privileged people, but also general public, even people who have lost their houses by natural disaster. I must say, it's no longer a natural disaster. They are man-made disaster. For example, the earthquake doesn't kill people, but the collapse of the building kills people. That is our responsibility as architects. That is why I started working in the disaster area. And also, 1994, there was a civil war in Rwanda between the two tribes, Hutu and Tutsi, and its results, creating the over 2 million refugees. And I happened to see the terrible photo. They are freezing with blanket because they have not given any proper shelter from United Nations. And I thought we have to improve them, otherwise any medical care doesn't help them. So I wrote a letter to United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, and there no reply. So I went to there without any appointment. But I was very lucky to meet German architect Wolfgang Neumann, who was responsible for the shelter construction. And he was very interested in accepting my idea using cardboard tube for the structure, because the United Nations just provide them plastic sheet, they cut the trees, this become very serious deforestation, so that he was looking for some alternative material to replace wood. So that's why I started working for United Nations as a consultant to develop this idea further. I believe that the structure, even the temporary structure, has to be beautiful and comfortable, and also this has to be it's made of local material, and also I work with the students to build them. Year after, later, 1995 in Kobe, Japan, we had a big earthquake. Over 6,400 people are killed. And I went to there to build the shelter for the former Vietnamese refugees in Kobe, and also I built the church, paper church, out of cardboard tube with pro bono of student volunteers. Then I created NGO, Voluntary Architects Network, and working in disaster, building temporary structure all over the world. 1999 in Turkey, 2001 in west side of India, 2004 Sri Lanka, 2006 Niigata, Japan, 2008 Chengdu, China, 2009 L'Aquila, Italy, 2010 Haiti, 2011 in Tohoku, Japan for tsunami and the earthquake, and same year in the Christchurch in New Zealand, I built the temporary cathedral. And again, the paper church in Kobe was used over 10 years because people loved it. Then we disassembled them, shipped over to Taiwan. Also they suffer after the earthquake, and we rebuilt as a permanent community center under church. It's still there. So it became permanent structure. Then I thought, what is a temporary and what is a permanent structure? Then I knew even structure out of the paper can be permanent as long as the people love it. Even structure made in concrete, it can be destroyed by earthquake very easily, but also if building was made to make money, like the developer buy the land and the building, destroy it to put new one, it's a temporary. So whether a building is temporary or permanent is not depending on the material. It's depending on the love. Whether if people love the building, this becomes permanent. Otherwise, it's a temporary. I used to think I would like to make a balance of my activities between normal commissioned work and other pro bono relief project. However, I recognize this. There are no differences. The importance of the project is the same. Even my satisfaction of after completion is the same. And even the time I spend for the project is the same. Maybe sometime most of the time I spend more time in the disaster relief project. Only difference is whether I'm paid or not. And also, only that is why, in order to spend enough time for pro bono project, I'm very lucky to have 3 great partners in 3 cities. Nobutaka Hiraga in Tokyo, and John Gaston in Paris, and Dick Moss in New York. Finally, let me go back to the story of my former professor, John Haydock. He was an architect, educator, and also poet. And he requested us, the student for 5th year, to study poetry. And I couldn't understand why we have to study poem in order to be architects. I never wrote poem, even in Japanese, and I didn't want to take this class because of my poor English. And every week we have to write a poem, and surprisingly, my professor always asked me to read my poem in front of the other student. And I found out writing poem is just like designing architecture. Because first of all, we have to make a structure, and we have to select simple word. We don't need to have a decorative word. So that just like making architecture, we don't need so much vocabulary to make great poem or great architecture. So so that is why I was very good writing a poem. After working as architects for 30 years, I have received this wonderful Pritzker Architecture Prize. I understand that the prize is given me as the validation for my way as architects and my direction as architects. Instead of, it's not for my great achievement. And so that I just encourage for me to continue my way, same way, to creating wonderful architecture to be loved by people all over the world. Because of this reason, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to entire Pritzker family and Pritzker jewelries and my parents, especially my mother who designed my clothes, and also those who have accomplished me on my great adventure with architecture. Thank you very much.